Hello, fellow humans, and welcome back to a certainly interesting video. Today we are covering the reproductive anatomy and rituals that the enemies in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom might have. We will be covering 5 enemies today, and I think they will give us a really interesting range. We will be covering Bokoblins, Lynels, Choo-Choos, Keese, and the Yiga. Just a warning that this video will cover sexual topics in a scientific context. We will only cover these topics within the bounds of anatomical, biological, psychological, and sociological discussion, which is allowed on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help a small creator out. Okay, starting off with the Bokoblins. Now I'm thinking they were definitely based on pigs to some extent due to their appearance and the sounds they make. In Breath of the Wild they have small horns, cloth covering their groin region, and a lack of boss Bokoblins. In Tears of the Kingdom, they have larger horns, and boss Bokoblins are present. My theory on how they reproduce is that the boss Bokoblin is some sort of alpha male, I hate how that term's been ruined, but I don't mean in an Andrew Tate way, okay? With a harem of female Bokoblins. This is evident due to their leadership role in Bokoblin camps. Their more prominent and ornate horns, their aggressiveness, and the nature of Bokoblin society. Going back to the pig-like phenotype, male pigs are stronger, more aggressive, and generally solitary, while females are more social. This makes sense looking at the structure of Bokoblin societies, where there are many Bokoblins and then the one boss Bokoblin. The lack of boss Bokoblins in Breath of the Wild also supports my theory, because I think the Bokoblins reach sexual maturity in the time between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which means their horns would have grown and then Ganon introduced the male boss Bokoblins. The one thing that doesn't make sense to me is that the cloth covering the groin is the same size in relation to the body, in both females and males. This can mean multiple things. It can mean that the males have a retractable penis like some reptiles, and balls inside the body like an elephant, that the males are lacking in some areas. It can also mean that the females have a long clitoris like a hyena, or that females have a long ovipositor like multiple species of Hymenoptera. Also, to the people that will talk about the lack of nipples, nothing in these games have nipples, including Hylians, or real-life animals, which are very clearly mammals, so I'm assuming that the Bokoblins have breasts and are mammals. Now on the topic of mating rituals and fetishes, I think that they are primitive and not very developed. Clearly, they probably have some sort of group sex ritual because of the very social nature of Bokoblins and the harem thing we talked about earlier, and maybe some proto-fetishes, but that's it. Now, covering Lynels, there is a very important elephant in the room to cover here, which is the clear lack of female Lynels. This is why I believe that Lynels are actually hermaphrodites. Their singular piece of armor is covering both their male and female genitalia. However, with how tight-fitting this armor piece is, I believe that they have a retractable penis, like some reptiles, and internal testicles, like an elephant. This conclusion isn't that hard to reach, but the real reason I wanted to cover Lynels is their human-like intelligence and awareness. This means that mating rituals and fetishes can be vast, like in human cultures. I can only imagine how rich the sexual culture around the retractable penis and hermaphroditism can be. I imagine that this can create some really interesting dom-sub dynamics, and I don't think I can cover that here on YouTube, but I will leave it to the imagination. Mating rituals can also be equally interesting. I think that they are monogamous given the rarity of Lynel and Hyrule, so these mating rituals have the opportunity to be deep and personal in Lynel relationships. Now covering Choo-Choos, they are really interesting because of their simple, gelatinous nature. This makes me think that they are just one really big cell. This means that they reproduce asexually with the process of mitosis. Their big eyes seem to counteract this point. However, I think that they are just specialized sensory organelles that merged with the main cell a long time ago and became a part of it, like mitochondria. I also think that their cytosol evolved to be more gelatinous, so it is more firm and is what we call choo-choo jelly. Due to their large size and complexity, I think that there are many things that can go wrong during mitosis, and this is why groups of choo-choos are limited to a few members instead of large colonies. Now covering the Keese, which are really just social bats, I believe that the large Keese groups you see in caves in Tears of the Kingdom, or the sky in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, are actually just Keese orgies. In these orgies, I think it would go exactly the same as a normal bat, but on a large scale. Unless the Keese are serotonin bats, which I don't believe they are, given that you do not see Keese penises or copulatory arms, males are relatively normal, and then the female stores the sperm until the spring for fertilization. because keys are really simple. I don't think they have any mating rituals or anything like that. Now covering the Yiga. This is really interesting, not because of the, like how it works, but because of the mating rituals and the sociology that surrounds cults like these. We all know how humans mate, so I won't talk about that, and if you don't, you're probably too young to be watching this, but your parents will tell you someday, just trust me. The sexual hierarchy in the Yiga, and just normal hierarchy also, goes Master Koga, Blade Masters, the Foot Soldier with the Demon Carver, then the Foot Soldier with a Vicious Sickle. I think that this creates a really messed up dynamic where somebody above you in the hierarchy can force themselves onto you, and people high enough might have their own personal harems, creating a really messed up dom-sub dynamic or socio-sexual hierarchy. Unfortunately, in these cults, victims are very isolated, so they don't see a way out. Now that we are on this topic, I do want to say that if you or anybody you know is in danger because of cults like this, you can find help. Mating rituals in the Yiga and cults as a whole can also be very interesting. I think it probably involves group sex and harems, because with cults, it always involves those things. Let's be honest, have you heard of a cult without group sex? I imagine that they have large sexual gatherings on blood moons and other occasions related to Ganon gaining power. They also believe that malice would hold a large importance in these ceremonies as a central object, or maybe even an aphrodisiac. It probably doesn't work, but it could be used as that. I hope you liked this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help a small creator out, and goodbye, fellow humans.